Part 1. Ads of Love. The diner was the kind of place where the coffee never quite cooled down no matter how long it sat in the chipped porcelain mug. Steam clung to the air like a regular who refused to leave, and the scent of frying bacon, scorched toast, and too much onion meatloaf settled into the walls. Alice Hyatt had long ago accepted this as her second home. Mel's Diner was more than a roadside eatery on the outskirts of Phoenix. It was a theater of the absurd, a laboratory of human behavior, and on certain days, a testing ground for her own patience. She smoothed the front of her uniform, which smelled faintly of grilled onions, and leaned on the counter. Across from her, Vera poured coffee with her usual shaky determination, somehow managing to spill only half of it. Jolene, in her red lipstick and bright laughter, perched on a stool, waving a magazine like it was a prize she'd won at a carnival. "You know what your problem is," Alice Jolene said, her southern drawl slicing through the morning bustle. "You don't put yourself out there, not like me. 3 dates this week, honey, 3. Alice smiled faintly. "And how many of them remembered your name by dessert?" Jolene laughed unbothered. "Doesn't matter. It's about getting out there, trying life. You, meanwhile, sit home knitting sweaters for a man who doesn't exist." Vera leaned in eyes wide as if confessing state secrets. "Jolene's right, Alice. I mean, even nuns go out more than you." "I date enough," Alice muttered. 3 dates a year, Jolene arched an eyebrow. "That's not dating. That's jury duty." Alice rolled her eyes, but inside a pang stirred. It was true, her social life had been collecting dust. Since her husband's death years ago, she had learned to stand tall on her own 2 feet, but sometimes that independence felt more like isolation dressed up as strength. Jolene slapped the magazine down. "Phoenix Today, the personal section. I'm telling you, it's a gold mine. You should put in an ad." Alice shook her head firm. "No ads. That's not the way I want to meet a man." But Jolene had already crossed that line. The secret plot. Later that night, as the neon sign outside blinked Mel's with a sputter like a dying heartbeat, Jolene and Vera huddled at a corner booth. Between them lay a draft scribbled on the back of a napkin. "Attractive brunette who loves theater music and being a love goddess seeks her love god, box 479. "Love goddess might be pushing it," Vera whispered. "Trust me," Jolene replied, her lipstick print smudged on her glass of Coke. "Men eat that up, makes them feel like they're Zeus or something." But what if Alice gets mad? She'll thank us once she's swept off her feet. Sometimes a woman doesn't know what she wants until her friends shove it into her hands. Vera frowned. "My Aunt Agatha always said, if you lie, your nose grows." "Your Aunt Agatha also said you could get pregnant in a swimming pool." Jolene grabbed the napkin. "We're sending it in." The ad appeared in Monday's issue. By Wednesday, 17 replies had already piled up. Jolene divided them into neat stacks labeled good, bad, and yuck. The good pile included a symphony conductor who claimed to love candlelit dinners, a beekeeper millionaire from Utah who promised a lifetime of honey, and a man who signed his letter with pipe tobacco-scented paper. "Now that's classy," Jolene said, inhaling deeply. "Smells like sophistication." Vera wrinkled her nose. "Smells like my uncle's den. He used to read detective magazines and cough up a storm." Details, Vera. Details tonight, Alice is going to meet Nicholas Stone, a writer who loves theater and quiet walks. Perfect for her. Alice meets her match, sort of. When Nicholas Stone walked into the diner, Alice was still oblivious. She thought her friend's insistence on going to a fancy fish dinner was just one more excuse for them to meddle in her wardrobe choices. But then he appeared tall, sharp-eyed, carrying himself like a man who believed the world should always be taking notes on him. "I'm looking for box 479, he said, his gaze landing on Alice. The room seemed to tilt. Jolene grinned from the corner, mouthing surprise. Alice's face flushed. "My friends put that ad in. I didn't know anything about it." Nicholas studied her like a scientist examining a rare insect. "You're not at all what I expected." "And what's that supposed to mean?" "Well, aren't you a tad short for a love goddess?" Alice's eyes narrowed. "I didn't know there was a height requirement." The exchange spiraled from there, her denial of writing the ad, his smug revelation that he was just researching for an article on lonely women who placed personals. "You think I'm desperate," Alice said, crossing her arms. "I think you've got a chip on your shoulder," Nicholas replied, "and chips don't help anyone find the right man." By the time he left, Alice was fuming. Yet something in her chest betrayed her anger, a pulse of curiosity, an annoyance that still burned hours later. Nicholas Stone had gotten under her skin, and Alice hated that more than anything. The other suitors. As if Nicholas wasn't enough, Jolene and Vera kept parading more candidates through the diner. There was Bart, the pompous attorney who mentioned his profession every 3 minutes. I'm a lawyer, you know, and Nick Jolene's date, who tried to impress Alice by bragging about his appendix scar. Each dinner became a carousel of disappointment, awkward silences, bad jokes, lobster orders, too big for one person, and lectures about the dangers of coffee. Coffee causes hypertension, headaches, and heart disease, one suitor announced. Alice sipped hers slowly. So does listening to you. By the end of the week, she was exhausted. I don't want Nick, she told Jolene flatly. I don't want Bart. I don't want anybody. But Alice Vera said, eyes wide, you could end up alone with nothing but pigeons on a park bench. Then at least I won't have to share my French fries, Alice replied. Still, when Nicholas Stone showed up again, smirking, half apologizing, half challenging, Alice felt the spark return. He was arrogant, yes, but he was also alive, sharp, unpredictable. The kind of man who could irritate her into laughter. Part 2. The Super Fry Cook. If there was one thing Mel Sharples loved more than his griddle, it was the sound of his own voice explaining why no one else knew how to use it. He was a man of habits, fry bacon, complain about prices, insult the waitresses, and repeat. But on Halloween morning, something happened that would shake Mel's world like a ketchup bottle in Vera's nervous hands. It started with the costumes. Alice had agreed reluctantly to dress up as Groucho Marx. Jolene put on fake eyelashes thicker than a tarantula's legs and claimed Harpo for herself, though Mel insisted she'd make a better Harpo because Harpo never talks. Vera, confused but earnest, asked if she could be Captain Kangaroo instead, and ended up with a mustache so crooked it looked like it was trying to crawl off her face. And Mel He had decided to be Captain Galaxy. Now, Captain Galaxy was no Superman. He was a relic from a 1,950 seconds television show sponsored by a cornflakes company. The hero's main powers involved pointing at the horizon, drinking milk, and reminding children to brush their teeth. But Mel loved him. When he strutted out of the kitchen in silver tights, a cape that smelled faintly of bacon grease, and a helmet fashioned out of an old salad bowl, the diner fell silent. Then Jolene burst into laughter so loud she snorted. Mel, you look like a baked potato wrapped in aluminum foil. Bag it, Mel muttered. This uniform strikes fear into the hearts of evildoers. It also strikes fear into my eyesight, Alice said, adjusting her Groucho glasses. The bank incident. Later that day, Mel waddled down to the bank still dressed as Captain Galaxy. He claimed he needed quarters for the register, though Alice suspected he just wanted people to see him in costume. The bank lobby was already strange enough tellers dressed as pirates, a manager in a musketeer outfit, and a security guard who looked like he'd lost a duel with a glue gun. Mel marched to the counter. I demand change, he bellowed, planting his cape dramatically on the floor. Sir, the teller sighed, you'll have to wait in line like everyone else. But fate had other plans. Just as Mel started grumbling about how he was too important for lines, a man in a Robin Hood costume whipped out a pistol and declared, "This is a holdup." The crowd gasped. Mel blinked. What kind of fool robs a bank dressed as Robin Hood? Shut up, the robber snapped. Without thinking, well, without much thinking, because thinking wasn't Mel's strong suit, Mel leapt forward, or rather stumbled forward, tripping on his cape. In the process, he collided with Robin Hood's arm. The gun clattered to the ground, and the robber was tackled by two customers dressed as Smurfs. In the chaos, Mel struck a pose, one hand pointing to the future, the other clutching his aching hip. The room erupted in applause. Captain Galaxy saves the day, someone shouted. Mel grinned, chest puffed out. All in a day's work for liberty, justice, and a balanced breakfast. Fame tastes like burnt coffee. The next morning, the Valley News ran the headline. Full fry, cook, foils, robbery, Captain Galaxy to the rescue. Below was a picture of Mel in his costume cape-wrinkled helmet, sliding sideways eyes, half closed as if he had just sneezed. The caption read, moments after the rescue, Captain Galaxy is licked by a grateful waitress. The waitress in question was Alice, though she insisted she had merely brushed something off his face. From then on, the diner became a pilgrimage site. Locals came not for Mel's greasy burgers, but to meet Phoenix's newest superhero. Children begged for autographs. Tourists asked for photos. One man even asked if Mel could bless his French fries. Order up, heroes, Mel bellowed, slamming plates onto the counter. Today's special, Justice, with a side of coleslaw. Alice muttered to Vera, "If his ego gets any bigger, we'll need to knock out a wall just so it fits in the diner." Vera tilted her head. Wouldn't that help with ventilation? The street patrol. Mel's heroism didn't stop at the bank. He began patrolling the streets of Phoenix at night, strutting in his silver tights cape, fluttering like a misplaced bedsheet. "Trouble doesn't sleep," he told Alice one evening, "and neither do superheroes." "You're asleep by 9, Mel." "Bag it. Justice runs on coffee." His first patrol ended when he tried to confront a man who had skipped out on paying for his cheeseburger. Mel shouted, "Halt, villain!" The man replied, "Get out of the way, silver pajamas," and punched him into a stack of garbage cans. By the next morning, Mel had bruises on his face and an ice pack tucked into his tights, but he insisted it was all part of the job. "Even Batman had bad nights," he declared. "Yeah," Alice said, "but Batman didn't get beat up by a guy named Larry who just wanted free fries." The fall of a hero. The turning point came when Mel picked a fight with a man twice his size over a $1.75 unpaid bill. The customer challenged him to settle it in the alley. Mel, puffed up with delusions of heroism, agreed. 5 minutes later, he was airborne, bounced off one wall, then another, before landing face down in a puddle that smelled suspiciously like pickle juice. When Alice and the others rushed out, Mel groaned, "Is that the Big Dipper I see?" Back inside the diner, Vera dabbed his forehead with a napkin. "Maybe you should retire, Mel. Superheroes don't usually smell like coleslaw."